So we have Penny Freeman. Penny Freeman's, she's a RevPAC board member, but also what's more important, she was Ron Paul's former political director in his congressional campaign. Penny, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Penny. Penny, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm really excited to have this this dialogue with you because, you know, I'd love the opportunity to hear a little more about who Ron Paul is on a day-to-day basis. You know, we often see him on the campaign trail, and there's still that distance, you know, but you've worked with him directly. And, you know, can you share a story with us that you have of Ron Paul and kind of shed some light on who he really is, you know, on a more personal level?
Sure. Well, you know, I heard you asking about what he liked to eat, you know, personal things like that. I don't normally go around talking about the people that I consult for, that I work for, but I think that it's important in this instance to know that he really is a down-to-earth person. There's no pretense. He used to hate to wear makeup because, you know, he felt like he wasn't an actor. He's a person who is very compassionate even to his employees. When I went to work for him, I had 4 children and I was a single mom, and he made sure that I was able to take care of my children first. He would tell me, you know, don't kill your family for family values. And so, you know, that was the type of person he was. The type of person that you see on the stage is the same person that he is in real life. And it really aggravates me when Santorum puts this conspiracy that he's in league with Romney, because the real fact is that he's very respectful to everyone and he's friendly to everyone, even when it's hard.
Yeah. Ms. Freeman, I have to say, I have to commend you for the work that you've done. You know, he's served his congressional district, you know, for over 3 decades, you know, and you've taken a big part of that in keeping him in office. You know, I can't commend you enough. Can you tell us a little bit about, you know, I know that you were his campaign director in his congressional race. Do you see a difference or any kind of similarities now in his presidential race?
Well, I guess one of the biggest differences is, you know, he had a constituency of 600,000 when he was member of Congress. Now he's running as a leader of a whole nation. That's millions of people. When people used to call in at our office, we had that 800 Ron Paul number, and if he was there, he would say, you know, let me talk to him. He had his phone number in the local phone book until about 2007. So, you know, he was very accessible. People who wanted to talk to him got a phone call, and they also got their personal letters answered by him. So that's the type of person that he was.
How did you come to being his congressional director?
Oh, that's an interesting story. Um, I was actually recruited because he was running against a corporate farmer, and I was a farmer in South Texas, and I had done a lot of activist work against the USDA, and corporate farming didn't like me, but Ron Paul did. And so his campaign manager brought me in because I had a lot of farming contacts, because his district included 22 counties in South Texas, and it was very rural. And it's moved now, but, you know, after a while, you know, I got more. I really loved working with the Patriots. They are like salt of the earth people. I had the best job in the whole world, tell you the truth.
Yeah.
You know, I made friends for a great congressman.
Yeah.
So.
Now, I'm sure that you've been watching him on the campaign trail, and it seems like every single, whether it's a primary, whether it's a caucus, and he gives a speech, he just seems so excited. Do you sense that he is really excited about how this, you know, how his movement evolved over the years and kind of where it's, you know, where it's kind of become and all the support that he has? Do you think that's a very genuine, you know, feeling that he's expressing through this campaign?
Yes, because you know, in the early years when he went back, when, you know, he ran for a while in the 70s, and then he ran. I have one of the original Ron Paul for President libertarian buttons here. Um, but he was always really surprised that people had heard of him and that they were supporting him. And he did it a lot because he knew that he was not one of those people that were rock star status. And he didn't consider himself rock star. Well, now that he's rock star, so I really love seeing that because he deserves it. He has been consistent for years and suffered. People that in Congress, he was always so glad to come home because the members of Congress were not friendly to him. And there was a few that were. He was an outcast for a long time up there. So he was really glad to come home and grow his tomatoes. He was into organic gardening. And, I used to say that he loved two things at home, his family and his tomatoes,
How about, you've seen him and his family on a more personal level. I mean, it seems like Carol is one of the sweetest and supportive wives and political wives. Do you have any stories that you could share about, her support, or in some interaction that she's had with him over the years in terms of, his political campaign and her support in that?
Mm-hmm. Well, just to let you know that all of her grandkids call her Lovey. And I think that that's appropriate, right? I mean, most grandmothers are called Grandma or Granny, but they call her Lovey. And she had a song for every instance. She was always singing songs to them. And some of the older grandkids were like, "Oh, another song." But she was a very she had an integral part. And whenever we were going to a parade, she was always there. I know that you know a lot about the cookbook, but there's about 15 of them now. I got the whole volume set here.
I'm jealous.
Well, where can we get those ones too?
She would put these cookbooks together, and she would put the Bible verses in them and the pictures, and she would write all about the kids. So
now
she was very important.
You also worked on the campaign for you worked on Deb Medina's campaign, and she was a governor in Texas. She really shook things up. Do you have any stories that you'd like to share with that and kind of that movement a little bit?
Oh, wow. Yes, I was her campaign manager. She had called me in August, which I had known her for a long time, with my very close friends. And that's why I was telling you, the reason my job was so great is because you developed friendship, a working relationship, and a friendship with these great patriots because they're in this not for money, not for wealth. They're in it for their families, their grandchildren, their posterity. And those are the type of people who you work together with every day. And Deborah was one of those people. And so when she decided to run, she gave me a call, and I was like, well, in what capacity, And I was like that is an uphill battle. And she agreed. But Dr. Paul is their work ethic. I mean, both of them could work circles around people half their age. It was very hard work keeping up with those two candidates. And I've worked for several other candidates as well. But she's a lot like him in his work ethic.
Well, she did run against Rick Perry. That's the interesting thing and the interesting correlation between the two. But you did mention Deb Medina and also Ron Paul being able to do circles. And I've always been extremely impressed with Ron Paul, his health, him riding his bike, challenging the other candidates. And I'm sure that you've seen quite a bit of that as you worked a little more on a personal basis with him, and how important he is with his health. But if there's any other stories that you can think of that you can share with the viewers, because so many of us love Ron Paul, and just even a little bit of a tinker into what his personal life is or what life is like around Ron Paul. I'm sure a lot of our viewers, like myself, would love to hear.
The personal life. He loves German chocolate cake.
Don't we all?
Who doesn't? Yeah.
Almond Joy. Almond Joy chocolate chip cookies because, he's an academic. And so, it's just a smart thing to do. Love chocolate. But I think one of the things that viewers need to know. It's a very interesting story, and I told Gary that I was going to give an exclusive. I don't think that I've ever told anybody this story, but he was always very respectful of everyone's person, okay? And in '06, there was a lady who filed against us in Congress, against Ron, Congressional District, and her name was Cynthia Sinatra. She was the ex-wife of Frank Sinatra. And after she had filed and we had rocked along a few weeks, I got this anonymous piece of mail, and it said Penny Langford, and I opened it, and it was really strange because inside this packet was calendar. It was a fundraising calendar for a foundation. And this woman who had filed against Dr. Paul was Miss January, and it was a nude calendar. And it was tastefully nude. Okay. But I talked to Ron and I said, this is the lady who's running against you. And he was like, I'm not going to look at that. And we're not going to use it in the campaign. It distracts from the issues. Wow. And it's not respectful. And that was he could have laid this out, yeah, and she would have been done. But he stayed on the issues, and he respected her privacy and did not use that nude calendar against her.
Oh, what a great story. I think it's just, it's just a tidbit of why, it's so easy to love Ron Paul, for reasons like that. It's a great story, and thanks for sharing it with us. I'm sure, it's like just another little tidbit along with, the compassion story, the compassion commercial, just giving us a little taste of, really truly who Ron Paul is. And we often see him that way on the campaign trail, but it's nice to, to also hear those kind of stories too, to kind of reinstitute respect in that into the political process, and he's just like the grandfather of it all. And so
right, and he could have dipped down beneath and been beneath the character so many times, but he didn't. He stayed above, and he still does today. And no man is perfect, but as far as people who, especially in Congress, it's been easy for him to be better than them, right? But, just as a person, he has that strength of will and strength of purpose and strength of spirit. One of the things that always amazed people who knew him down in the district is that he was tough. He was very compassionate and understanding, but he didn't take crap off of anybody. And so that's why people who talk about foreign policy and he's a pacifist and all of this, he had, 5 teenagers, and dealing with that because they had a normal American family, and they had, issues when, in their family, like everyone does. And he dealt with that while being in Congress, while being a doctor. And, look at his family, full of doctors and very positive children. And it's been, amazing to watch that. And he's been sort of a model to some on the staff and off of the staff.
In reading the back of the cookbook, I recently got mine in the mail, and it's a really great story about Ron Paul. From when he was a young child, his work ethic from such a young age, it seems like it just rolled over into his, everything he did, he just seemed like he excelled, whether it's athletically, academically, and then, it just kind of seems like the love and the support of the family or just the family unit. And then it just kind of spilled over into all his kids. All of his kids are very successful. The grandkids are successful. You just can't find a more perfect family. Gosh, but I really think a lot of it has to do with, it's like you make your way down from, the top down. And I often think, someone like Ron Paul as a president, it just filtrates its way all the way down to the people. And it's just, it'd be great to have, that opportunity. And And you've certainly done a fabulous job keeping him in office all these years and running great campaigns on the congressional level, and we can't thank you enough for that. Is there anything, given that you have political congressional campaign manager, is there any advice that you can give to some of our maybe grassroots volunteers that, maybe need a little bit of direction from somebody that's as skilled as yourself?
Well, number one, one of the things that I see amongst the movement is you have a lot of people who get this idea that they want to run for office, but they can't afford to really win, or they can't got an uphill battle. A lot of campaigning is like any industry and any sport. It is more mental than physical. And if you feel like that you can't win, then your battle is half lost already. And so just like negativity is contagious, positivity is contagious as well. And you've got to go out there and have confidence in yourself, have confidence in the message, and start spreading the message in a positive manner, and start telling people that you can win. Tell yourself that you can win. Don't be unrealistic about it. But when you go out to run, you run to win, and you let the cards fall where they may. One of the great things about Deborah and Ron have been that we're going to work and run as hard as we can, and we're going to do the best that we can, and we won't let up until the day after. We'll have a little bit of a break the day after, a party, and then we're going to head back to the work again.
Well, that's
so, just the mental positivity and the attitude of winning is such a huge part of it.
Yeah, well,
don't let people get you down.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. We're coming close to now, and you better stay tuned because we're coming close to now our premiere of our new commercial. But, Penny, I can't thank you enough, to share, to do what you've done already for the movement, in the decades that you have. Additionally, to share a little more insight about Ron Paul. I appreciate you joining us today, and thank you for being so candid.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and thank y'all for volunteering. I really appreciate it. I love y'all all. I love all the Patriots. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
We love you too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. See y'all soon.